Hey homie, are you sure it was a good idea to move all this weight at this time? I thought they were bombing things, no? Yeah homie, we got double pay. How much you making? 200? 200,000 is pretty good, homie. No, just 200. Oh. Hey, do you hear that, homie? Hello internet, another day, another video where we pray for the Reddit stock price to sink harder than the USS Liberty. You know, the last time a United States ship was sunk, we turned 2 entire cities into a potential Fallout sequel, but I guess when our greatest ally does it, it's A-OK. But speaking of the N-word...
You know what the N-word is, right?
Going on this subreddit feels like voluntarily being blasted with lethal doses of the hard R every time I click a post. So if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, your claim to being a based floppo will be fact-checked by only the truest of patriots. But without further ado, let's get right to the video. Alrighty, so here we are on the homepage, and I just wanted to show you something before we begin. The articles and the news companies or whatever have been putting Trump 79, like they keep citing his age. As if we already didn't know he started taking Viagra like 40 years ago. But here's another one, Trump 79 dozes off again during peace agreement signing. Trump 79 appears to call Vance incompetent and rambling word salad. Trump shares more than 150 brain rot posts in late night rampage. Donald Trump 79 is losing it. And convicted fraudster Trump frees man convicted of $1.6 billion in fraud. So we will be looking at all these in this video and much more. So let's get right to the posts. Trump 79 repeatedly falls asleep in his own cabinet meeting. Thankfully, we have the video evidence right here showing him go nap in the White House. So let's take a look.
For the U.S., capital expenditures up 15%.
Oh, there he goes. He's closing his eyes.
When CapEx is up, jobs will follow. The one big beautiful bill is an incredible, as you said, thanks to your leadership, along with Speaker Johnson, Senator Leader Thune, we had that done on July 4th, which everyone said was impossible. And the great thing about that bill, sir, for the American people, it's for industry, 100% expensing. Build your factory here. You can write it.
Holy shit, that speech was boring. I'm less than a third of his age and I was about to fall asleep. Alright, thankfully we have a second piece of evidence, so let's see if the morphine kicks in with this one.
Below the price of inflation. Unfortunately, Biden brought all of us a lot of inflation. If you look at the other end of the spectrum, California, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maryland, I could go on. What happened in those states? Policies and politicians that force the building of unreliable electricity generation, which requires new infrastructure and transmission lines. And what happened? Today,
unbelievable, man. This is exactly what happens when we deny Trump his golf days. Why are we torturing him so? It is every president's God-given right to be able to shoot under par, and that is exactly what Trump deserves. Let's not forget why. It's because he was up all night shit-posting on social media. Well, let's see how Calcutech spends his time on social media. Let's click on his profile. Who is your least favorite current pop musician, and more importantly, why? Such riveting questions. We need to get this guy into the Oval Office stat. And what's this? We got a positive upvote ratio and controversial. Where's the crowd crying at Sleepy Joe Biden? How will you defend your idol now? And this guy got downvoted. Huh? Who idolized Joe Biden? -6. And look at that. We got a fallen soldier. Let's see if r/politics even said anything about Joe Biden at that time about his age. Joe Biden says age is just a number. I am not surprised. Even this post right here got 0 votes. Is Joe Biden too old? Regardless of his age, Biden will be a vastly better president than that white extremist leader that is currently in the Oval Office. Yeah, maybe if you're Mexican. Our next post is from Mark Kelly, who said, "No, I wouldn't have followed the order to carry out a second strike on suspected drug vessel." Why not, though? I probably would have carried out a third strike just for good measure. If we bombed them once, why would I want to take the risk of them getting revenge or, I don't know, being able to traffic more drugs in the future? If this is what my taxes pay for, I want to see them used. Anyone in a position to issue orders to subordinates knows that it is illegal to kill unarmed men. So what, being armed with copious amounts of fentanyl isn't enough? There's over 100,000 fentanyl overdose deaths each year in the US, and that's not including the people who happen to be lucky enough to get like Narcan or something. I'm sure the total number of non-lethal overdoses is way higher. Am I obligated to care about the lives of drug smugglers now? When did this become a thing? Orders shouldn't have been followed for the first strike either? Maybe we're sending missiles at the wrong targets. It seems we got a traitor on our hands. There are stories of the actual Nazis having more respect for prisoners of war and their laws of war than this administration does. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have come full circle where we're actually praising Nazis now for their treatment of people. When we're discussing blowing up drug trafficking boats, you have got to be kidding me. Tim Walz says Trump must release medical tests amid signs he is fading. I like how this gets news, but then the $1 billion in fraud that we recently discovered from Minnesota is nowhere to be found on the front page of r/politics. And this is an actual White House article, by the way. Yes, there's something wrong with Walz. Let me change that for you. There we go. Now it is way more accurate. Democrat announces articles of impeachment against Hegseth. You know what? I bet Trump is sleeping great now, knowing that there are probably less presidents than the amount of times they've tried to impeach him as president. Telling that the discourse in response to actions like this is typically a horde of pointless Democrats bad, can't and won't do anything ever comments. Damn, you know it's bad when even Redditors are in a nothing ever happens camp. Should be an arrest warrant. I wish you had that same energy when it came to illegal immigrants. Republicans say U.S. about to go in to Venezuela with oil a key reason, so water is wet. I'm more shocked that we haven't been in Venezuela already trying to get oil. Not as shocked as Kaya, of course. Wars for oil, current Republican president check, last Republican president check, Republican president before that check. You know what? I think oil is probably the only competitive spot in the U.S.'s top priorities next to Israel. Which is actually pretty impressive, honestly. I would definitely prefer that one more. I feel like the only reason Redditors care, though, is because we're attacking their socialist paradise. Donald Trump is going to absolutely ruin this World Cup. Now, this is an article for impeachment waiting to happen. You know, I like Trump beforehand, but this is just too much. Well, he's ruined everything else, so why not? Ah, yes, didn't you know America was a utopia before Trump came along? Things were so good back in 2016 that people actually felt the need to replace the entire establishment with a guy who's never held a political position in his life. You know things are going great when that's the sentiment. Virginia Democrats propose redrawing maps to get 4 new seats, 16,000 upvotes. And if we scroll down, we'll see millions of Redditors pretending that gerrymandering wasn't a thing until Republicans and MAGA showed up. Republicans have decided that gerrymandering isn't against the rules, that it is just the rules, so do it. Start playing to win. Holy shit, dude, I just clicked on this person's profile and I immediately see a post from r/Vosh. Why am I not surprised? Blue-collar jobs are collapsing under Trump, 14,000 upvotes. It certainly isn't the fact that all jobs are basically getting replaced by AI. And I like how at the bottom of this article that they linked, even the guy said this change is probably inevitable. It is just too easy to mechanize in manufacturing, he said, adding that those good old school jobs are not coming back. And that this has been the case for more than 50 years. And did you know that Trump is 79, which means for 50 of those 79 years, he's been declining manufacturing? Unbelievable, man. How did we elect this guy? Convicted fraudster Trump 79 frees man convicted of $1.6 billion in fraud. And this is actually something I am very critical of Trump of because I am not a fan of pyramid schemes, of Ponzi schemes, and unfortunately Trump was actually one of the lead advertisers for a very big pyramid scheme called ACN. I'm pretty sure he worked with them for over a decade, if not more, and then when he got into presidency, he tried pretty much wiping that entire history with the company, but you know. Trump is certainly not the only one to turn a blind eye on fraud, as Kamala Harris, when she was a prosecutor, chose not to prosecute Herbalife in 2015. And if you didn't know, Herbalife is literally one of the biggest pyramid schemes on earth. And in fact, they have suffered some of the biggest settlements in fraud history. So there's a mountain of evidence that this company is fucking bad news. But of course, Kamala Harris actually having the power did as much as she did as the border czar. So are any of us actually surprised? Absolutely not. And fun fact, her husband, Doug Emhoff, worked for a law firm called Venable LLP at the time, and guess who their main client was? That's right, Herbalife. In fact, I think Kamala Harris is even more culpable considering she had the power to do something about it and chose not to. And by extension, Congress for the last 40 years is also very, very culpable of just not fucking doing anything, which is why I basically hate almost every politician, except for a very, very, very small number. I could probably only name 3 at the top of my head, and they're all local. Trump says he'd absolutely denaturalize Americans. And honestly, fucking based. Anchor babies have been one of the primary reasons that we have so much illegal immigration, and there is absolutely no reason why they should be naturalized at all if your parents just illegally cross the border and happen to cannonball their kid out of their uterus and they happen to be on US soil at the time. But I am not surprised at all that the top comment that got 7,000 upvotes is obviously just a reference to Nazi Germany, because we all know the Jews were basically equivalent to Mexicans crossing the US border. I'm so glad we have Redditors to teach us history every time we go on this subreddit. How 200 New Yorkers foiled an ICE raid before it even began. There we go, sorry, I had to change it again to something more accurate. But seriously, why the fuck are we not just arresting these people? They're keeping illegals in the country and preventing federal officers from just doing their job. In what universe should we be granting these people any type of amnesty? Zohran Mamdani wants New York City to be LGBTQ plus sanctuary as he details big plans. Are we just gonna double the gay strip clubs in New York? What are these big plans? Seriously though, why are we giving special priority to just one certain group? Why isn't he trying to make it a sanctuary for all people in New York? This is the same exact messaging that got Donald Trump elected. Trump spirals when asked why he pardoned notorious drug trafficker. I bet this guy didn't traffic fentanyl or anything. I bet it was fucking cocaine or something. You know, the fun drugs, not the sleepy forever drugs. Juan Antonio Hernandez Alvarado, why are Hispanic names so long? Who was sentenced to life in prison for importing at least 185,000 kilograms of cocaine. Fuck yeah, I knew it. You see, Trump owns mansions, not homeless tents, so I knew exactly what drugs he'd be okay letting through. You know, that shit ain't cheap. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it. If you liked the video, like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you to all my based gods, base legends, super based, and base certified members. And if you made it this far, I have a documentary coming tomorrow. Well, I guess it's more just a mini documentary essay sort of thing. But you guys will be hella excited for that because it is a good one that I'm cooking up. But I will see you guys later. Peace.